Coming up on Tekzilla, what's coming up in 2010? Lloyd Case is on to talk PC tech. Garnet Lee talks new video games for the new year. And of course, we got a stack of your viewer questions to end 2009. So uncork the sparkling cider and pull out the party favors and get ready to burn the neighbor's house down, because Tekzilla starts now. This episode of Tekzilla is made possible by GoToAssist Express, Squarespace, and the United States Air Force. I'm Patrick Norton.
I'm Veronica Belmont.
Welcome to Tekzilla, hands-on reviews of the latest tech and how to make the most out of the gear that you've already got.
Whether you're a beginner or tech support for your friends and family, if you've got a question about tech or the best New Year's Eve morning after breakfast ever, we've got an answer for you.
And if we don't, we'll track down someone who does.
I just decided to shake things up a little bit.
And
do something a little different for the new year, you know.
I think it's very important in our show, the last show of 2009, to point out that you are not pregnant.
No, I'm not freaking pregnant, you holes. Skinny. No, okay, so sometimes I wear sacky clothes because I don't want to wear something skin tight every freaking episode. And for some reason this week I've gotten like 10 people being like, oh, is Veronica pregnant? Oh, she's going to make a great mother. I want to be like,
I think you will make a great mother.
Someday. Not now.
When you choose to.
There is no bun in the oven. You cannot smell what The Rock is cooking.
Well, you can, but not within the context of you being pregnant. You are not pregnant. So
I'm not pregnant.
And
trust
me,
if I ever become pregnant, you will probably be the first to know.
Well, actually, you and 1,743,000 other people on Twitter, because
there
they'll be like, ZOMGs, I'm pregnant!
So stop asking.
Yeah.
God. They must be confusing me with Carrie Byron. Because she was pregnant.
But she's not pregnant
anymore.
She's not pregnant anymore. She is a mommy, however.
No, we got way too TMI just now, but man, that was driving me crazy.
Welcome
I was getting like a complex. I was like, no? Man.
Now that we've gotten the whole not pregnant thing out of the way, what's your computer resolution for 2010?
My computer.
I'm going to do
my
two
computer
things.
resolution.
My two tech resolutions. I am going to
1900 by 1200.
All of the cables in the house, including my son inexplicably has not chosen. He did finally manage to yank the Blu-ray player and the DirecTV box down on himself.
Oh.
But so I now have that ratchet strapped to the. He's going to have to now yank the entire shelving unit out of the wall, which is secured with like gigantic screws. But so we have. Well, have you seen my son? He likes to climb things.
He likes to get into stuff.
He likes to get into stuff. So that's
he's a toddler. Yeah, that's what they do.
I'm going to manage all of the cables in the house. There's going to be no visible cables anywhere in my house if I can make it happen.
That's great.
And two, I'm going to automate the backups from like all of my computers. Like all of the automated local backups are going to be automated to backup on the internets.
Ah.
That's my two goals. For
I actually have that system in place now. I have my Time Machine backing up to an external drive, which then backups to Mozy online.
So you now are trusting. I thought you weren't trusting Time Machine because I don't trust Time Machine.
It's redundant, so it's okay because not only am I backing up everything on my computer to Mozy, but I'm backing up everything on the external drive also, which is the backup.
To do both.
No, it could. It's like it goes like and then it goes.
So as long as Time Machine
like
works,
that visualization.
You have 2 copies of the backup.
Yes.
But what if Time Machine doesn't work?
I will still have the copies saved on Mozy and also my local stuff saved to Mozy.
Okay.
A lot of stuff. So I'm excited about hardware things, moreover, like the Boxy Box, for example.
You're like Boxy's number one
I like Boxy, okay?
I'm not slagging on that, but of course you would be excited about the Boxy Box.
Yeah, and not that I'm saying that I want another set-top box to add to my home theater system, but it sounds pretty cool. It's got HDMI, it's got an SD card slot, it's got 2 USB 2.0 ports, Wi-Fi, and an Ethernet for that old school internet connectivity. It looks pretty slick too.
Yes.
Judging from the pictures I've seen online.
The 3D rendering we've seen online.
Yeah. So I'm also excited about.
You won't be able to stack stuff on top of it.
No. It's a stand.
It's distinctive.
It stands alone.
Like Boxy itself.
Yeah, apart from all the other set-top boxes. Digital magazine distribution. Now, this is something that people have been talking about a lot lately. You know, getting rid of paper magazines and just having something on a device that you can subscribe to the magazines of your choice and read them on the go. You know, whether it be a Kindle or a Nook or some other kind of device that the magazine publishers actually create.
I'm waiting for a full color e-ink style device that has decent battery life, but still, it's my perfect digital.
We could see it. It could happen.
I don't know.
It could happen sooner than you think.
I keep trying. Books, novels, I can do no problem on ebooks. I haven't been able to jump the shark, I guess.
No, that's not what you mean.
No, you're right.
No.
I haven't been able to jump the divide. There is a large divide between my magazine reading habits and digital readers.
Perhaps a hurdle made of shark.
I like that.
No, that would still be jumping the shark.
Oh, well.
Also Chrome OS.
Ooh.
If it happens then, will it happen by then? It'll happen by then.
It should happen before the end of the year. Google has more money and engineers than the law should allow. I'm being facetious. I'm not slagging on Google. They have the talent to make it happen.
It's true. Speaking of potential New Year's resolutions, we got our first question of the show from the other side of the world, no less. Marie out in Sydney, Australia, emailed us asking, I'm in the process of designing a house for myself, which, being the geek that I am, will include things like internal wired network and a lot of electronics.
Outstanding.
For the bigger stuff, such as TVs and appliances, there is going to be strategically placed power points, etc., to minimize cable runs. But for things like PCs, etc., there's always going to be the constant tangle of cables we all know and hate.
Oddly enough, very related to my personal...
What you were just talking about. I have come across a couple of cool things, such as Belkin's concealed surge protectors that help cable management. But just thought I would ask if you guys had come across any cool technology to minimize cable eyesores in pretty much any home context to help calm my OCD. Or is the simple old cable tie still king? Cheers, Murray in Sydney, Australia.
I like zip ties. Not as much as I like Velcro, though. I don't know if they have them by you, but you can go into big box hardware stores and some of the smaller hardware stores, an entire Velcro rack. Velcro in more shapes and sizes than you've ever seen in your life, including like 100 packs of Velcro cable ties, which work.
Those are swanky.
They are swanky, and they work just as well as zip ties, except you don't have to cut them off to reuse them.
These are nice.
I do not, unless it's like a pretty permanent arrangement, I do not recommend
cable tie porn.
What they call zip ties or mounting ties, which have a little thing in here. It's designed to be your drywall screw. It goes right into there, and then you can zip tie into it.
Oh,
I don't. You basically.
To the other one. Oh, it's stuck to me now.
Velcro attacks. Because then if you ever change your cabling or add a new cable, you need to add one. You either zip tie it on top of this. I really like what they call mounting bases. They usually come in 1 inch by 1 inch. They have double stick tape on one side, or you can just screw them down and then you run your zip tie through them. So I'm obviously a big fan of the zip tie and the Velcro, but there's a lot of other stuff out there. Brace yourself, hand your credit card to someone you trust, and then go to cableorganizer.com. It's been making the round on Twitter lately, actually, thanks to Digital Kitty. Colleen, our friend who did the Hackintosh, actually was freaking out about this website. It's been around forever. They have everything from braided sleeving to wired looms to just go there, click around, search for whatever gets you excited. Also, while you're building the house, make sure that all of the cable you put in the wall is installed. No, because you never know what you'll find on there.
But the colors are so pretty.
Yes, and well, you could actually use different looms.
It looks so
for different
stretchy and convenient.
It is stretchy and convenient, and once you get started, everything will be organized, everything will be labeled. Oh, a label maker. Put a label maker at both ends, especially for long cable runs. Yeah,
I love label makers.
They're exciting. We should see what new label makers are at CES.
Ooh.
Yeah, so I hope we got links in the show notes. Check them out at lifehacker.com. Actually, Lifehacker has an on-again, off-again obsession with cable management, especially with desktops. Make sure you follow whatever the zoning laws are in your area, and make sure you don't run the wrong things in the wrong place and burn down your house. But it sounds like you got an amazing house you're working on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want a house
we need
in
some
Australia
Cat 6, maybe
with
some optical.
sick-ass cabling. I mean,
sick-ass cabling. Coming up next, get a heads up on what to look forward to in the world of gaming in 2010. But while we've got your attention, we want to thank one of our sponsors.
Yes, it's time now to thank one of our sponsors, the United States Air Force.
Welcome to this week's Freebie Download Pick, a free program that we find useful, fun, or incredibly interesting. This week, the absolutely nifty Sketchbox. If you find OS X stickies indispensable, then you'll love Sketchbox even more. Building upon the idea of digital post-it notes, Sketchbox allows you to not only leave text notes, but sketches as well. And if a picture really does equal 1,000 words, what better way to convey a message, reminder, or idea than with a sketch? Plus, with customizable line thickness and color, along with the ever-important eraser, you'll be doodling in no time. But wait, can't draw? No worries, Sketchbox can also take snaps of whatever is on your desktop. If a picture is too big, you can resize Sketchbox for a better fit, and you can still add text messages on top of that. You can even set a timer, and it'll bring it right up in your face. You have yourself the ultimate digital post-it notes. If you love stickies but want more features, step up to Sketchbox today, at least if you run an OS X, people. Dragon Age, Left 4 Dead 2, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, 2009 was a great year for video games. Can 2010 top 2009 for great video games? To help answer that question is our favorite video game maven, now editorial director for Gamefly Media, Garnet Lee. Dude!
Hey. Well, now I'm blank screen because I fail for webcam because I haven't really opened this whole internet era of web conferencing. So sorry about that.
We've contacted a distant family member who's provided an absolutely spectacular selection of junior high school images that we're going to drop in here on you, dude. Should be amazing. So,
oh no.
Speaking of junior high school, the gig, it is new, and I understand you've gone Hollywood. What does that actually mean in the gaming community?
I have no idea what going Hollywood means. It means that we're redesigning and re-kicking off, and we're going to have a brand new Shack News for you next year that I think everyone will hopefully really like, have a lot of flavor. And to answer the question, yes, there is a new podcast coming. We're getting into the new year to launch it.
So are you running shacknews.com now? Are you Mr. Shacknews.com?
Mr. Shack News and File Shack. We have a video site. We have Ponged, our Flash game site. We have a couple of cheat sites. So we're slowly putting together a little mini network here.
Nice. Well, we'll have links to everything, or at least everything I can find, off of shacknews.com and Gamefly in the show notes. Dude, we got to talk games. What's your top 5 games we should be on the lookout for in 2010?
The first one up has got to be StarCraft 2, or I guess now we should call it StarCraft 2 Wings of Liberty, since they've split the thing up into 3 pieces.
What?
So, you know, Blizzard. My old rule of thumb for Blizzard is when you first hear a game announced by them, double the amount of time to the release date, add a year, and that might be when it comes out.
They won't go Duke Nukem, but you're going to think they might have the potential at some point.
So we're going to get the Terran campaign, which is the first of the 3 races. And I think the thing you should be excited about with this game is that, they have this great heritage they built up now with StarCraft, and especially overseas in the competitive gaming space. So where with Warcraft, when they did Warcraft 3, they started experimenting a lot with role-playing game elements and veering off of just a pure real-time strategy game. The multiplayer part of StarCraft 2 will be a hardcore real-time strategy, highly competitive, highly a game you can see in a lot of competitions. It'll be popular, of course, in South Korea, where it's already huge, but I think you'll see it in a lot of global competitions for gaming. So there's that element of it, and then I think they'll use the single-player game to add the contrast to that, to where they'll have, a space to experiment with different gameplay types.
Or if you find yourself going online into a multiplayer game and getting your ass handed to you, you can retire to the solo community to build up your skill set.
On the online thing, I think a lot of things, one of the places people may be overlooking right now is they've already said they're going to do a whole overhaul of BNet, which is their online service. And I'm really curious to see what's going to go on with this, because if you look at what's happened since when they were big on BattleNet, you've got Steam, you've got Impulse, you've got good old games, you've got all these digital distribution sites. I know Blizzard and Activision have to be looking at that and thinking not just a matchmaking service, but something that goes a step beyond that. I'm really curious to see what that's going to be.
God of War 3 next up on your list.
Oh man, PlayStation 3 owners have been pointing to this almost since the PS3 was known about. This is the tour de force for the system. It's going to have fantastic visuals, but also I think what you're going to see is not just the ability to put a really pretty picture on the screen, but the ability to do a really large stage and get this tremendous sense of scale. The game series is already known for having these giant Greek epic battles where you're fighting gods and the titans, and that's what you're going to be harnessing the power of the system for. Now, the question is, how is it going to fare in there's a lot of action games coming out this year. I didn't mention Bayonetta from Sega. There's also a little game called Darksiders coming out from THQ. So this space already has 2 other games coming out, and I'm wondering whether they're going to get just, blown to dust by God of War, or whether they're all going to kind of fragment the market.
Well, do you think, God of War seems to have a pretty serious following traditionally?
Absolutely. I mean, it's got the history of David Jaffe behind it, and I think they've built a great mythology around it. You know, they've said that this is going to be a series that really answers a lot of why Greek mythology was historically interesting to us in the culture, and then why it disappeared and what happened with the battle between the giants and the titans and the gods. I think we'll see all of that come together in this, but really when it comes down to it, what you're looking for here is a great action game that really pulls you into this tremendous cinematic experience, the same sort of way Avatar grabbed you at the movie theater.
Heavy Rain.
Well, Heavy Rain is the first. We got 2 risk takers here, and Heavy Rain is the PS3 risk taker. And I think about Heavy Rain that's going to be a real bellwether to see where gaming has matured in 2010, because it's not a traditional game. This is a game where you have 4 characters. It's very narrative driven. You have 4 characters whose stories revolve around a serial killer. One of them's an FBI profiler, one of them's a private dick, one of them is a journalist who's covering the whole thing, and one of them is the father of a family that's been impacted by the serial killer. So each of these stories will tell part of what's going on in the overall picture. Now you're immersed completely into the game, and in many cases you're going to be doing mundane things like getting up in the morning, getting dressed, showering. One of the things that
it's like World of Warcraft in that way, sort of just goes on and on and on.
Way more than that. Think like being John Malkovich and dropped right into that person and trying to get a grip with who is this character and why it is important, so that when dramatic things do happen, you have a sense of place with them. You're going to be doing more complex motions though with the controller, especially since you have motion sensing in the PS3 controller. So there'll be motions that represent the kind of things in space that you'd be doing with your hands or your legs. And I'm really curious to see how people respond to it. I'm deeply concerned that it'll be a critical success.
So it could be knocked out of the park, could just retire to obscurity with a hardcore group of fans pursuing it forever.
I think you'll see both. You'll see critical responses be really strong. You'll see a lot of gamers excited about it, but I just don't know how you sell it in Walmart, and that's unfortunately a challenge. And the same thing goes for the 360 risk taker, which is Alan Wake. And Alan Wake came up along about the same time. Now, it might have a little better edge in that it's more of a typical sort of adventure and action game in the mechanic of actually playing your guy and fighting off enemies. And it has a very Stephen King feel to it, and there's a super built-in market for that, that thriller sort of horror mystery Twin Peaks sort of environment to it. And I think that'll be really interesting. You actually are playing a very Stephen King-like author who goes up into the northwestern part of the United States at a retreat. Something happens to his wife while he's asleep, and he wakes up and he doesn't know whether he's in a dream state or not a dream state. It's got David Lynch all over it. It looks very, very funky and trippy. And the mechanic of the game is that light is necessary for you to be able to see these creatures of the dark that are coming in.
Oh, really? Wow.
So that's a pretty cool back and forth there.
A radically different style of game, Mass Effect 2.
Mass Effect 1 was one of the biggest hits for Xbox 360 already. It's got the doctors at BioWare behind it, and Casey Hudson as the game director, and these guys are absolutely on top of their game. I was recently up in Edmonton. I got to play it. I think that they've taken everything out of the first game that held them, that even held them to any sort of critical eye, and really polished it up. This is a game that you sit down and you can play it with a controller. It's very easy. It plays the way you'd expect it to, as far as being fluid to move your characters around, and feels like you're playing a shooter. But it has great depth of character development, and the story system, where instead of reading out entire lines of text, you're just choosing an emotional response for your characters, keeps things really popping along. So
nice.
What happens is you come into a scene, and you're typically watching a scene, and you're like, oh, okay, is this going to end? What happens here is, and then you're reading out the lines, Joe says, and all of this stuff, and instead of that, you look at it, says, do you want to bitch slap this person, or do you want to agree with them, or do you want to try and sidetrack the conversation? And you just pick which one you want to do, and then the cinematic action continues to happen on screen.
That's a big plus. Natal, not exactly software or a video game in this question.
Oh, but it is. It is. Project Natal. Keep in mind,
Natal.
they brought it out on stage at E3 with 3 demo games. And we already know they've been off on a tour to studios, really pushing developers to work on this. I'm interested in this, much like I am with Heavy Rain, because it's going to be a very, very strong indicator of where we are gaming-wise. Do people want to stand around in their den when it comes down to it and jump around in front of a camera?
But then it's always worked out so well in the past. I mean, is this going to work better than the web camera-based video game interaction we've seen before?
I think absolutely. You know, if you look at the rumors about the quality of the componentry that's going into it, they're definitely doing some serious checks. Now, of course, they have competition from PS3, which we haven't seen as much detail on. PS3 is using a wand that you hold in your hand, and one of the things that it's two approaches. The Tall wanted to get away from any sort of controller.
Right.
The PS3 system uses the wand because by having a fixed spot of reference, they can be very, very detailed in how they track that. So they can do very, very precise tracking. So they've got precise tracking. Natal has full body incorporation.
Interesting.
Do either of them matter? I'm not sure that this controller I'm holding in my hand is really the thing to overcome with games. The thing to overcome with games is make better games.
So, which brings me to one last question before we go. No Wii games? No Wii love at all, Garnet?
Well, I do love Wii. You know what? The thing about Wii is the release schedule has been really shallow, and it's almost all first-party dominated. And I got to give you a first-party game, which is Mario Galaxy 2, which we just learned about over E3. And I think that if there's a game to look forward to over 2010, it's got to be Mario Galaxy 2. And if Zelda fans out there, I'm sorry, I just don't see it happening this year. I think that's going to be a 2011 title.
One disappointment, a bunch of great games. Garnet, awesome info as always. We want to thank you for taking time out of your crazed schedule to be with us here today. Folks, if you want to find out more about what Garnet's up to, get some great news in the video game scene, you should check out shacknews.com.
Coming up next, Patrick talks to Lloyd Case about PC tech in 2010. But first, let's take a moment to thank one of our sponsors, Squarespace. Squarespace is a publishing system for anyone looking to build a blog, portfolio, or any kind of website with easy-to-use templates and no coding required. You can now manage your entire Squarespace website on the go with the new Squarespace iPhone application. Post and edit entries, manage content, save drafts, post photos, and more, all directly from your iPhone. The app has a completely custom user interface that matches your Squarespace site's look and feel 100%. It's also the only iPhone application on any major publishing platform that contains a native iPhone statistics interface, tightly integrating your phone, your site, and your data. Want to check on your view counts? The iPhone app has all the stats available. Unique visits, page views, popular search terms, RSS subscribers, and top referrers are all right there under the Stats tab. So even if you're not at your desk, you can keep your website up to date. All you need is your iPhone. And if you're just starting out with Squarespace, be sure to use the code Tekzilla when you check out. You'll get 10% off the lifetime of your order. Check it out at squarespace.com. Looks like it's time for another website we just can't get enough of. A website that we just can't stay away from because it's too useful, too funny, or just too darn irresistible. This week's pick, Tink-O-Matic. As we all know, times have been tough for many people out there, and the internet is a very valuable resource when it comes to job and deal hunting. However, it can be kind of a pain to search through multiple websites to find what you're looking for. That's where Tink-O-Matic comes to the rescue. It searches a bunch of sites, including eBay, Craigslist, Kijiji, and Oodle all at once. And if you don't find what you're looking for, you can save your searches for later and see updates when the searches start pulling results. You can see all the results in different panes within the Tink-O-Matic window, except for Craigslist, which opens separately, the only feature that kind of annoys me. You can use the tabs at the top of the search box to specify what kinds of items you're looking for to tighten up the search. So to make your searches work even better for you, check out Tink-O-Matic today.
Everybody curious about the future of PC technology, or at least what's coming next year, we asked Lloyd Case from improbablyinsights.com for his analysis on what to expect in 2010. Lloyd, welcome back to the show.
Good to see you.
You've been doing a ton of freelance work lately.
Yeah.
Who are you
Maximum
writing for?
PC, Tom's Hardware, Anantech.
What's been the
Hot Hardware.
What's your favorite article so far?
Probably the one that was where I wrote about the Radeon HD 5870 because it was so out of left field. Nobody expected ATI to do that well.
It's just ridiculously fast.
Yes.
And actually, I guess Trilby do a true HD support over the HDMI.
That's what I hear. Yep.
Of course, no one we know, even in the HD theater community, seems to actually have a receiver that supports Trilby True HD. Or I guess we do. We have to send one back. But in our home, it would be nice just once to have a receiver that supported True HD.
Well, you know, we can dream.
So
hey, CES is coming up. I'm sure they'll show some off there, right?
Oh my goodness. Well, let me rephrase it. One that I can actually afford.
There you go.
Or justify. It's one that doesn't cost more than a month's rent. Anyhow,
right.
What's coming up? And I guess, should we start with CPUs? Is that kind of where the big changes
Yeah,
are?
the magic number is 32.
32 nanometers.
That's right.
So that's going to be the next sort of phasing down in production.
That's right. Intel's transitioning to 32 nanometers starting in early next year, very early next year. I think we'll probably see some stuff at CES timeframe.
Okay.
Both on laptops and desktops. They've got this 6-core monster called Gufftown that they'll ship, as well as some interesting low power. When I say low power, I mean it consumes low power, but they're actually pretty powerful CPUs. I've been playing around with one of them.
So what we're talking about here is basically they shrink the die that basically the circuitry takes up less space, and it also usually means a reduction in power and a little bit of a performance boost.
Yep, and also this thing has AES encryption acceleration.
Oh, wow.
So we kind of neat.
So it's a spook processor.
Right.
So what's going on, or I should actually say it's probably a digital rights management processor. What's going on with Larrabee? Is it gone?
It's become what Intel likes to call a development platform, which means it's not going to ever see the light of day.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's possible some die shrunk super version of it may show up someday. It won't be called Larrabee, but it's, as far as next year goes, it's not coming.
So they went down and they took their fork, they ticked or talked, and they went down that end, and it turned out to be dead.
I think so, kind of a dead end. But only because, you know, ATI came out with the 5870, and I think Intel believed they could kind of keep up with sort of the HD 4870, 4890 kind of performance, but with NVIDIA coming out with their DirectX 11 parts soon, I mean, there's just no way they could have kept up.
So maybe in the future we'll see a serious 3D entry from Intel.
Maybe. We'll see.
What about there's a Finnish crew? Did you see?
Yes, there's some Finnish. This is a really interesting point. Every time somebody comes out, you know, Intel comes out with 30 nanometer, another die shrink, and they're talking about 22 in the future. Everybody says, "Where's the limit?" You know, sometimes you're gonna. Some Finnish guys and some people working with some researchers in Australia recently developed a transistor where the active site is 1 atom wide.
So you're basically literally talking like an atom of transistor, an atom of insulator, another atom of transistor.
You know, I don't have all the details and what all those little parts fold up, but clearly we have a long ways to go even with traditional types of transistor technology.
Because a couple years ago it's like the heat, it won't work. We're going to go from copper to optical computing, and so has that been staved off, the need for
a little while? Yeah, I mean, there's still a lot of research going on those alternative computing models, but I think that the traditional model is still going to hold true for a while.
Anything coming up from AMD that we're looking towards in the early 210?
Not early, probably mid-year. They're going to come out with some stuff. They're pushing their 32 nanometer stuff at some point. Of course, they're trailing Intel. They've got their what they call their Fusion initiative, where they're going to put graphics on the CPU. Intel is shipping a version of their next generation 32 nanometer stuff with the graphics, but it's really a separate chip in the package, not actually integrated onto the die.
And that's all going to be sort of the medium to low end units. GPU computing, what's going on with that?
I think this year, 2010, is the year, the sort of the proof of concept year. Well, I shouldn't say that. The proof of concept has already happened. It's going to be sort of the make or break year. And by that I mean, there's no question that GPUs are very useful. I mean, you know, the new movie Avatar, a lot of stuff was rendered on GPUs and stuff like that. But I think in terms of mainstream applications that you run on your notebook PC or your desktop, where everybody's using them, I think this is sort of the make or break year for that. And I'm talking about non-gaming apps, obviously.
So basically there's like gaming apps that obviously use the GPU. There's like Blu-ray decoding or MPEG-4 decoding that takes advantage of some CPUs or GPUs, graphics processing unit. So, but there's always been a theory that they'll be, oh, you'll encode your files and your GPU will speed them up. Or
you know, your digital photo or video editing will be sped up, and other types of applications that are sort of undefined right now in terms of what people actually do on PCs.
But the reality is at this point, the CPUs for most people are so powerful, there's not much point in offloading a lot of stuff.
Yeah, although when I'm of course kind of an exception to the rule, but when I batch up a bunch of raw images from my SLR for noise reduction, I wish I had something faster.
And whenever we're editing video, we always want something faster when we're applying a filter or something. So basically, 2010 make or break. Either somebody's finally going to make a
killer app of some kind. Yeah, I think so. If they're going to do it, I think this is the year they need to do it.
Is it because of the discrepancies between going with ATI or NVIDIA to use GPU?
No, I think one of the cool things about the reason I think this is a make or break here is that the standards are finally there. You can use one standard to develop for both ATI and NVIDIA. You know, there's DirectX 11 Compute, there's OpenCL. Two very different standards, and they can run on different platforms like Linux. And so, I mean, obviously DirectX is Windows only, and then Apple supporting OpenCL. So you have one or two very standard ways now of developing the GPU. You don't have to be specific to one piece of hardware anymore. So I think that's why this is a make or break here in a lot of ways.
So you may actually be the only bigger ebook reader or digital book fanatic that I know of that's probably even more into them than Veronica.
Well, I mean, I carried a Kindle too around Europe, and I love having all those books in my back. You know, I carried 32 pounds of books around in less than a pound. But you know, and I am kind of bullish on the concept of ebooks, but I think what we've seen is what I've called the circular firing squad of ebook readers, in that it used to be there's Moby Pocket and it's standard, and you had one standard and everybody's cool. Then the Kindle came out, and then you kind of had that's DRM, but it's sort of loosely based on Moby Pocket. And now everybody's
basically tied to Amazon and the Kindle.
That's right, and then everybody's doing the same thing. I mean, they're doing the sort of App Store version. You have the Barnes & Noble Nook, which is tied to Barnes & Noble, and Google's doing its own thing. And it's just very confusing now. It's going to become even more confusing.
But Barnes & Noble and Sony are both saying that they're supporting an open standard.
Right, sure, and I believe that when I see it. I think eventually it will sort of shake out in one standard, but I think this whole jockeying for sort of the App Store model is sort of confusing people and slowing things down.
And or, as Cory Doctorow would say, it's just nothing should be locked down with DRM. Finally, the music industry has learned. When will everyone else follow suit? These are not the droids you're looking for.
Well, we'll have to see what happens. I mean, people want their content protected in the sense of wanting to, make their revenues back.
Yeah, authors want to get paid,
That's
just
right.
like musicians want to get paid, just like movie studios.
And we're starting to see alternate models for, particularly in the music world now, for making money. So maybe it'll happen, but we'll have to see.
You're not holding your breath.
I think it's going to be a slow process because even the music industry hasn't figured out all those alternate models, right?
No
Although the
comments.
movie industry had its biggest year ever despite all of the problems with piracy. So what does that say?
Obviously, we need to put more butts in the theater seats.
Right. And the people are buying discs and watching on Hulu. And Hulu is going to become. It'll be interesting to see whether the internet models like Hulu will become, and if they go the paid model, will be successful when they go pay.
You're going to be all over CES this year. Who are you going to be covering it for?
I'm going to be covering for Comms Hardware, and I'll be focusing mainly on high-end PC enthusiast stuff. So that's my thing. And despite the fact that's my focus, my dance card's already almost full. I mean, lots of stuff.
Yeah, there's a ton. Everybody was afraid that there was going to be nothing announced at CES this year. It looks to be I think people are just announcing everything at CES this year.
Right. A lot of the other shows at CES, CES has become what a lot of other shows used to be. It's kind of become the mega show now.
Lloyd, excellent stuff as always. Ladies and gentlemen, you can catch up with more of Lloyd's work at improbableiinsights.com. Right now, though, we're going to take a moment to thank one of our sponsors.
Go to Assist Express. Anyone expecting a long wait for your technical expertise is in for a big surprise. With Go to Assist Express, brought to you by Citrix, you can provide immediate support by easily viewing and controlling your customers' computers online. You can provide instant remote one-to-one support to clients located anywhere in the world. Handle more requests in less time. Assist up to 8 customers at once. Support both Mac and PC users. Try Go to Assist Express free for 30 days. Just visit gotoassist.com/Tekzilla for your free trial.
Tim wrote in asking us, "Hi, I'm looking for a fast, long-lasting, future-proof hard drive for my operating system, and I'd like to know if I should go with an SSD or a 10,000 RPM or even 15,000 RPM drive. Thanks, Tim from Washington State." Tim, there is no such thing as future-proof on a computer, so that's silly. But there are some good planning.
Yeah.
You can plan for the next couple years.
The $225 80 gigabyte SSD drive that is like the creme de la creme of performance right now was like $500 6 months ago.
Well, yeah,
if not more than that. You know what I mean? It's like, Velociraptors were insanely expensive too. And they're not particularly cheap. A terabyte hard drives, $90 now. 2 terabyte hard drives, under $200 right now.
I know, yeah. I mean, I've been looking to buy like a larger external hard drive, for example, and extra hard drives for my gaming machine, and the prices now compared to when I was even first looking at building the gaming machine are like,
yeah.
So, but
just let go of future-proof. What's future? A year, 2 years, 3 to 5 years. In 3 years, your gaming machine that you have now is going to be pig slow and won't have the graphics performance you need to run the new game.
And SSD is still a little bit iffy. Like, I mean, it's working for a lot of people. I know that you and Roger have had a lot of success, but I've heard of a lot of people having drive failures from early SSDs. That's one thing to think about.
Yeah, definitely run Windows 7, enable the trim command, make sure you buy a drive that'll work with the trim command because it basically deals with some of the performance degradation issues that can happen with a solid-state disk drive. And look,
but they're
this
fast.
Doesn't matter which hard drive you buy, whether you go with a 10,000 RPM Velociraptor or whatever it is, if you're buying one of these fast, high-end drives, whether it's SSD or rotating media, have an image made of that drive so that if it hurls on you, and there's a good chance that it will if you haven't, it can happen. It happens. It happens to be back up your data and have an image so you can zap that thing and get it right back up. Man, SSDs are it right now in terms of performance.
They're smoking fast. They run really cool. I mean, you can rattle
noise.
them around a little bit without having to worry about it too much.
Boot time is going to be like nothing.
Bam, booted.
But they are expensive.
They
80
are expensive
gigabytes.
now, but I think that this year they're going to start dropping even more than we've seen in the past. They're going to become par for course pretty soon.
Velociraptor, if you want to get really ridiculous, you can get a pair of Velociraptors running in a RAID 0 configuration, which offers no backup, but it will offer super fast performance. But the truth is you basically need ridiculous read performance if you're talking about your operating system.
So are we saying that he should skip the SSD for now and wait?
If you're, you know what I mean, if you've got the money to pay $225 for an 80 gigabyte hard drive to just, run your operating system in a couple applications, yes, absolutely. Buy the SSD drive. If not, go with the Raptor. Go with the Velociraptor.
Okay.
It is what it is.
Well, our final question comes from Samuel. He writes, my girlfriend recently received her free copy of Windows 7 from HP and was very excited.
I'm excited.
Then she realized she had no idea what she was doing, so I offered to do it for her.
Uh-oh.
Oh, I upgraded mine a few days ago and just backed everything up and did a clean install, which worked very well. Hers, however, will not do anything. She had a 32-bit system, and they sent her the 64-bit operating system. Is that the problem? Should I just try again? She was scared of a clean install, so I did the upgrade. So that might be a problem, too. I just do not want to give her laptop back as a brick. Please help me. His relationship is on the line.
Okay. First of all, for everyone else out there outside of Samuel and for Samuel in the future, always back up a significant other's computer before you upgrade anything.
And also check to see what type of processor she has on her laptop. I mean, couldn't she have told HP which version of Windows 7 that she wanted when they sent it to her? I don't know how that whole system worked.
Yeah, I can't comment on that. But, chances are, if it's a Core 2 Duo laptop, it should run the 64-bit version of Windows 7. Just check the processor against Windows 7 64-bit version to make sure it'll run. Run CPU-Z. That'll let you know what the processor, or look at the BIOS. That'll let you know
just look at the BIOS.
What your processor supports. EM64T for Intel, AMD 64 for AMD, or what you're looking for in CPU-Z to determine if it'll run a 64-bit operating system.
Well, she could have also done the whole Windows experience thing and click on the view and print detailed performance and system information. Then you have that nice printout of all the stuff on your system and whether 64-bit will run or if you need the 32-bit version. It's handy to have. Just for the future, too.
Yeah, I mean, I feel bad for you, dude. Look, assuming you check the founder processor to be 64-bit capable, the other issue could be upgrading from a 32-bit to a 64-bit system. You can't do a straight upgrade. You are going to have to do a clean install, and if that's the case, you're going to need to back up all their data. Our advice is if you've already made a backup for data to do the clean install, just do the clean install.
Oh, and may I recommend perhaps a dozen roses to make up for your foobarring?
Or chocolate.
Chocolate works. Chocolate works.
Yeah, I feel bad for the guys. It's like this is one of the reasons I almost never do computer work for money for friends. I work on pastaware. You want me to fix your thing? Feed me, because that way, because people are, I'll give you no.
There's a great comic on the oatmeal, which I talked about a few weeks ago today, about why you should pretend to be stupid with computers for your family. Because it will just come back to bite you later.
Yeah, somebody always has that weird thing they bought, and they did the weird thing and the thing, and then it's like, can you save my data? It's, no, I can't.
I downloaded this file called superhappytacos.exe, and now my computer looks like a can of baked beans. My cursor looks like a can of baked beans, and I can't get it to go back. Can you fix it for me? That's from the oatmeal.
You're all out there on Twitter, Craigslist, IMing each other all day, and they're watching and reading. Ooh, the instant messengers. And Revision 3 has them. This show will forever change the way you look at the internet, or at least the things people write on the internet. Don't miss it every Friday, revision3.com/INSTMSGS. For all of you watching, we live in your questions, so email us, Tekzilla@revision3.com. Check out product reviews, how-tos. You ask us, we'll do it, but we need those emails in 2010. It's 2010. Probably if you're watching this, or maybe even the evening before 2010. Don't be shy. Send them in Tekzilla@revision3.com.
Or even better, send us in a video question. Think of all the fun you can have and the admiration of all your friends and family when they see your mug on our show. Just keep it to 15 seconds, upload it to YouTube, and send us a link in an email with video question in the subject line. And as always, you can visit our forums at revision3.com/forum. Share your thoughts, ideas, or comments with other fans of the show, like how, for example, I am not actually pregnant.
Woohoo!
No babies. Thanks so much for watching.
I'm Patrick Norton.
I'm Veronica Belmont.
Until next time, you've been watching Tekzilla, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. I am not pregnant with the baby New Year. Father Time has passed along. Baby New Year, not in there. Not in there.
We're trying to record microphone levels here. You okay? You okay, Mr. Clappy?
They said we're good to go.
You have to break this into graphs, Roger, so I can breathe. I'm not being catty yet, but I can be.
Did we go over the top with the pregnant thing at the beginning of the show? Holes! Holes! It was satisfying. I've been really annoyed about that for quite some time now, so that felt good to get off my chest. It felt good to get off my stomach. What you